money everywhere else. So it'll be interesting to see how all that pans out. Now, yeah, I'm not going to say where I got this from, but I have some sources telling me, Matt, that it won't be long till we see Paige back in WWE, maybe even a month. If that is to happen, Matt, where does she fit into the division? Because obviously, I suppose the only good gain about her not being around for so long is the fact that she's going to be fresh and in terms of I don't know how they bring her back. Is it going to be a baby face? Is it going to be a heel? Not too sure. But would you see, because she didn't really get those big matches with the likes of Charlotte or Bailey or Sasha. Really, I know she done them stupid group things that we both hated in the so-called Divas Revolution, the pre-evolved women's division that it became. But I mean, there's a lot of programs for her to work because she hasn't been around, Matt. So it seems like she'd be fresh again. But I mean, I don't know. I mean, would she be as big as she once was, or bigger, or do you think that WWE will not use her and actually just sort of run her down until the contract's finished? I mean, where do you see her relationship in WWE, and what? I mean, if you was Vince, what would your plans be for Paige right now in amongst all this?
It's definitely going to be very interesting to see which way they run with this. Mm-hmm. It's just, she's a great talent, and they should hold on to her, and they should make the most of her. I just kind of have this sinking feeling that when she gets there, she'll be sort of Oscar bait, They'll put her in probably a high profile kind of thing with that, but we all know that, she won't be the one to sort of take that victory over her.
Yep.
That's the sense I'm getting with that.
Yeah, it'll be fascinating to see what side she goes on, whether it's going to be Raw or SmackDown. But you talk about having the same matches over and over again. Paige would at least give some fresh programs with somebody. And again, she was a very good heel when she worked with the likes of Charlotte before. So those things were pretty cool. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. Let's just touch some base on other stuff now. Then Matt, The Miz. Positively, I've been a bit of a sort of he's certainly I've taken more notice of him. I think he's done excellent. We went to see him earlier in the year, and I thought he'd done an excellent job in front of us as well. And again, the only thing I will say is that when they put the likes of Curtis Axel with him and all the rest of it, I don't know how I felt about that, because I feel like him and Maurice are really good, like just with each other. But nonetheless, because it just seemed like J&J when they were with Seth a little bit. It seems like they're just going to get darted about, and that's where they were going with it. But Matt, I mean, he's stock in my opinion. As he's a guy. We talk about guys that need to leave and go and make a name for themselves. I think it's fair to say, Matt, that The Miz has literally stayed at it and persevered, and he's come through with flying colours now. And he's a great heel, and people appreciate maybe now how good he is. I mean, okay, he might not ever be the greatest champion, main champion, but he's going to be. I think he's going to be remembered more than most of the other mid-card guys because of how good he is on the stick and how good he also is in the ring in his feuds, and he comes across like a star. And whenever I listen to other podcasts and they talk about The Miz, they always say this guy is a real company guy like John Cena. If there's an interview to be done with any other TV outlet on kids' TV, kids' awards, they send The Miz, he's there. If he's got to go and see somebody, he's there. He's the perfect ambassador almost as a heel to do these interviews because he's so good at that. And he's a very good company guy, and I hear that is why he does well these days within WWE. And again, the company take notes, and they take real notice of that when a guy will do those extra things for them. Matt, where does The Miz sit with you? And I mean, would he be? Do you think he's ever going to have another chance to get a top run, or do you think this is where it's at for him?
Well, there was a time when I thought, I would never be singing the Miz's praises, but this guy, like you just said, he is the all-around kind of wrestler and sort of entertainer. And he, if WWE were to lose him, they would feel that because he does do so much for them. And, I enjoy his promos. He's great. On that mic, he speaks from the heart and he draws upon real-life experiences and just, blows them out of proportion, which is great. I mean, that's when you get your best kind of interviews and stuff. But in the ring, great performer, like you said. I think he will be remembered as one of the greatest kind of intercontinental champions. He's already made a name as like winning it one of the most amount of times. So I think this guy will go down in history as being one of the top kind of performers. Almost in the sort of level of someone we think of now as Mr. Perfect. When we look back on someone like that.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I think he will be there. I think he's going to be remembered that. And like I say, he had he was probably devastated after, the whole thing after WrestleMania. I think it was 27 or 28 he was at. He headlined with Cena and, although he got the victory, very much overshadowed by The Rock coming in to do the Rock Bottom on John Cena and all the rest of it. And, you never thought he could pick himself up after that. But, you think he'd done the whole thing with what's his name? Sandow and all that, you think back to all that, you're like, nah, this guy will never be. He's a comic. He went through a phase of just a comedy wrestler. He almost went into the Santino Marella style comedy, and once you hit that, it's very hard to get out of it, Matt, because you just get, it's a bit like the three-man band. You're just there to be sort of mocked and thrown out, and Bo Dallas style. He's just a comedy wrestler now, and we just laugh at him. And it's so difficult to get out of that, trust me. Like, once you become the comedy guy, there's very little to come back off of. So he's done a great job for me, and I'm kind of pleased that there is a guy, there is opportunity to persevere there, and it's worked out for him. Somebody else I want to talk about now, Matt, I want to touch on just briefly here, Finn Balor. Obviously, when we were talking about him last time, I mean, progressively, I feel like they've done very little. I think the feud with Bray has been awful, nothing short of a disaster, especially with how that went down recently, the fact that Bray couldn't even get there for that, but at least we got, I suppose, AJ. Very little sign of a reunion with the Bullet Club or the club or whatever we want to call them. So, any little spark seems to... They don't want to give him anything. And I feel like, again, our fans going to get to the stage where Bayley's at, and we're going to start to see people get a little bit, I'm not sure I want to cheer for you now. And, you're not who I thought you were. I'm led to believe he was going to be involved with a high-profile feud with Brock, but that's been off the radar now as well. They're not going to go with that. Is he sort of close, Matt, to being left behind here and being like a typical small guy who, again, although he got the Universal Champion, he's the first Universal Champion, just bad luck and that's gone now? Or is there going to be another opportunity for him further down the line and now is just not that moment?
Yeah, it's quite telling with this guy because it does feel like he's getting left behind a little bit. It says something when he lost that title. He didn't lose the title. He was forced to give up the title, and he never got the rematch. They never made a big deal of that. Yep. It's just forget about it, leave it in the past. But they are really messing him around a little bit, really, and messing with his character. He's not the same one that he was on NXT. He got to the main roster, and all they seem to make a big deal about is the Demon. And it's almost getting dangerous to the point where when you see him in a feud with someone, you kind of feel you have to separate the two characters. You kind of feel like Finn Balor won't get the job done, but when he levels up, sort of like the Power Rangers when they had to bring in the giant robot, you'll be like,
it's morphin' time.
Yeah, now bring in the Demon. He's the one that will get the job done. It's even like if we go back to the wrestling game. Finn Balor rated 88, the Demon rated 92.
Oh, come on! As well. Yeah, okay, that's ridiculous. You don't want to see that. I mean, I get the fact that Brock Lesnar and Finn might be totally different end of the spectrums, and they don't want to put them next to each other because it's maybe there isn't the chemistry, or maybe just now is not the time, and they've got other plans. And listen, you can't have everybody at the top. There is only certain slots, but I do feel like they could have done some better things with. Let's know more better things about Finn. Let's put some layers on him. Let's hear about more normal things instead of this arse and coming out with these ridiculous lines that look so scripted again. You never have heard him say on NXT, like, come on, give this guy a break. And let's put him in a feud with somebody who, has a little bit more experience than maybe what he has on the WWE side of things. But, do you know what? I wouldn't have even minded him feuding with, like, The Miz for a bit longer. Just the fact that, they'd probably have got more out of it. And it hasn't literally got to be the Intercontinental belt or anything like that. But, like, just give him something a little bit more meaningful. But once you get locked into a feud with Bray, it is what it is. I mean, everybody seems to have had a moment with Bray, and it's a very forgettable one whenever they are. And it's about getting out of it. But for Finn, it seemed like it was going on and on and on. And blessing in disguise, I guess, in a little way, that he got the match with AJ. Which, again, people say it was an amazing match. It was an amazing match, but I still think they could have done. I don't think it was the be all and end all. I just think we're not used to seeing those kind of matches. That's all. I just think it was. That's the only reason why. But nonetheless, that's where he's at. Mate, let's move forward now just to a more, I guess, a positive thing. We were in London and we saw him. He was bandaged up at the time, but this seems like one of very few, Matt, success stories. Braun Strowman. Love it on this podcast because we always get the whole. Everybody remembers the night, Matt. You referenced him to looking from Sam from Game of Thrones with the beard, and that's stuck with us since. Everybody loves that. But Braun Strowman, Matt, for me, he is a success story. I mean, this guy. He's getting cheered. I mean, people like him. They like seeing him beat up Roman many a times. Probably a lot of people like seeing Roman get beat up many times. But Braun Strowman, Matt, he's no nonsense. He seems to be a little bit like Brock Lesnar. He can bat on either side of being a face or a heel. He's wherever it needs to be, wherever he sort of puts the fence himself, and he just goes from there. And I think you got to give credit. I mean, this guy, as I said, he didn't even touch NXT in terms of match length. And then when he did join the Wyatt family, he was just sort of an enforcer. He didn't have real matches. And then he went through the cycle with the jobbers, which I thought was actually a really good idea that WWE did that. Of course, someone who's got a lot out of that's our good old friend. What's his name? I forgot his face now. Who's the guy who faced the first bloke? It's with Carmella. What's his name?
Oh yeah, Big Cass. Oh well, not Big Cass. Ellsworth.
Ellsworth.
James Ellsworth. He made the link. He said Carmella. Big Cass. Ellsworth.
Yeah, Ellsworth. Yeah, of course he got something out of it. But yeah, I mean, Braun Strowman, he went through that cycle, and then of course he got to these big matches, and I felt like they wasted him at WrestleMania, but maybe. But since then, I mean, he's been he's been decent, Matt. How good is Braun Strowman in your eyes, Matt? I mean, is he? For me, he's money. I mean, if I was looking at babyface, I think this guy could naturally be it. And I'm not too sure that they're not thinking that themselves now with this latest feud that he's got with Kane. I don't know what you make of it, but it does seem like Braun is the babyface here somewhat. And if you look at the way Braun wrestles, and it is hard because of his size. And what I'm saying is normally whoever Braun wrestles, he's always the bigger guy anyway. So it's hard to be a babyface big guy. But if you look at the way he wrestles, he's kind of a babyface. What he does. If you look at the way Roman is with him, Roman always does all the heelish things with the more of the weapons, and you look at what Braun does, he doesn't do as much. So Matt, of course, he has been taken out by a garbage truck recently, but Braun Strowman, in since when we last left off, Matt, I feel like he's made lots of progress, and the office are really taking note of this guy. How big of a deal has he become, Matt? Because it seems like a couple of years ago, everyone was saying he's going